Yo, what's up guys? We're back with another deck profile. This one is a little bit different from what we usually do. This is going to be for an Edison Format deck that I took to my first in-person event, as the title says. This is Umi, Water, Heroes, basically like water good stuff mashup. Shout out to Keegan at E3 for the idea on this. He uploaded a profile I think it was quite a few months ago, but I'm fairly new to Edison. It was definitely before my time. I did not play during Edison. I started in about 2013, right after the Dragon Rulers were like all hit on the ban list. So a couple years before I started playing. For those of you that don't know what Edison Format is, it is based off of the event that took place in March of 2010 in Edison, New Jersey. That was kind of like an open meta, I guess you could say. All decks, for the most part, were a viable option at, I wouldn't say like a competitive level, but they could all like take locals or, were definitely viable options, and you could play your favorite like bad deck and still do fairly well. Hence Codarus, which I am convinced is not bad. It's based Church of Codarus. I am now a believer. I wasn't too confident in the deck just because I was just playing because I like Umi. That's really it. I really only expected to maybe win a couple matches, and I would have been happy with that. But we ended up getting second place, which is way better than than I expected, and I was definitely super happy. I think I drove about 3 hours, and there was 11 people from my locals, including myself, that went up just for that tournament. We have a fairly large Edison community growing locally in the city that I live in, which is super awesome. But another city over was hosting a tournament, so we figured we'd all make the trip up there. And yeah, we played 42 cards in the main deck. I'll explain why we played 42. The side deck is kind of a meta call based off of what I expected to be there from my locals. And then the side deck is pretty standard in my opinion, but let's go ahead and jump into it. You play 3 Warrior of Atlantis. For those of you who don't know, it reads you can discard this card, add a Legendary Ocean. And it's a 1900 beater, and it's a terraforming, so you need to play 3. Next, you play 3 Codarus, which is your like mini boss monster. You send Umi and to the graveyard, and you send 2 cards from the field to the graveyard. Doesn't destroy, plays around Starlight Road. It's immune to Bottomless. This is only 1400 attack. And there's also, with priority, this card is even crazier because there's certain situations where you can activate your Legendary Ocean. Your opponent will let that resolve because they're like, oh, it's just the Umi. Then you normal summon this, and then with priority you pop, you send 2. So this card is crazy. I popped stuff all day, just tearing people's boards apart. There's a card in here, the 41st and 42nd card, that kind of complement this, and I'll explain a little bit. Then you play your Mother Grizzlies. You can usually set this, kind of wall up, and then summon your Codarus. And then on your turn you can search if you have like your Warrior of Atlantis or Umi in your hand, and then you pop 2. So that's pretty important. You do need that. And then you play your Triple Diva, just to be a little more aggressive, open up your synchro plays. The 1 Gilman. Some decks or some variants of this play multiples of the Gilman. It just buffs them all by 300. I would rather just get it off my Diva. Although I did open it maybe like once or twice, and it wasn't terrible, but I just would rather commit my normal summon to something else. As far as like the main like water monsters, I guess you could say that's it. Then we have a fairly small hero package. You have your Stratos to search your alias. Typically you'll dump your hero, your elemental hero Ocean with Future Fusion and another water monster, just because it's a salvage target. Is pretty neat. So yeah, usually this search, this dump, or if you open both you can grab this, whatever. But yeah, that's what I play. This is the 41st and 42nd card that I added the week prior to the tournament, and I am so glad I added Kaius. Kaius is so strong. The deck is a little bit like, you can pick apart boards pretty easily, but you have trouble closing out the game after that. And like being able to go like Mother Grizzly into your Codarus, activate your Umi, pop 2, and then tribute over your Codarus, banish a card, and then run over something. Like you just devastate like an entire board off of a couple cards. So Caius is like that extra like boost the deck needed when I was playtesting like at 40 cards. And I feel like all the main 40 cards outside of these are needed. I just could not justify cutting anything, to be completely honest. So I figured, you know what, I'll play it at 42, whatever. And it worked out for me. I think I really only play like 2 breaks like this, and like, I guess Alias or Ocean could be considered like kind of breaks. So whatever, I'll just play, you know, 42 cards. But yeah, this card, man, definitely one of the MVPs of the day. And then you have your 3 Umi, your Legendary Oceans. It boosts all water monsters by 200, which is kind of relevant if you play against like a deck that plays Absolute Zero. You're boosting them a little bit. And it does reduce all levels by 1, which can kind of come up for certain synchros, I guess. This is like the card that I guess you could technically cut at 2. I want to open it personally, so I'm going to play it at 3. There was one game where I kind of bricked on it. Unfortunately, I didn't see any heroes and I had 2. I honestly don't recall if I won that game or not. Probably not, because I was bricked a little bit. But I think 3 is perfect. And then your double e-call, so that you technically play 5 heroes. I guess 6 with Future Fusion as you get it into the grave for your Miracle Fusion to be live. Double Salvage, this card I was back and forth on, 2, 1, cutting, but I think 2 is proper. Just in the middle, like mid-game, being able to see this and getting 2 monsters for free, like even like a Diva or like another like Mother Grizzly, so you can tutor back out into another Codarus to pop 2. This is super important. I really would not play 3 though. At that point, you're just asking to break up on them, and yeah, not ideal. This card was good. It was perfectly fine. This card was insane. I won 2 games because of this. Against Blackwings. So I played against Blackwings, Lightsworns, Zombies, and Frog Monarchs. But against Blackwings and against Frog Monarchs, this came up where I close a game out. I would hold this. Usually I would hold this to close out a game, or if I had a Diva to synchro off their monster, if I knew I could make like a big push or further pick apart their board. But against Blackwings, my opponent summoned Dad. He kind of did the math wrong, and he left me with... he thought he could keep going, but he couldn't really. Dad was his only play. He left me with enough life points to activate this. I took his Dad and summoned Codarus, and I attacked. He only had 3,000. That was game. So this card was crazy. And then against Frog Monarchs, I was able to... My opponent walled up with a Mally, and I had a bunch of beaters, and they were 100 off lethal. After I break control, so I break controlled, and then I just switched his malicious to attack, and I just won. But yeah, this card's just super sacky. It was awesome just dropping this on my opponent and then winning. These cards are fine. It's backward removal. You kind of need it. Usually you'll side it out, depending on the matchup, of course. But I anticipated a lot of Lightsworn, so I felt kind of iffy on this. I'm glad I kept it in the main deck. They were fine. They served their purpose. I know that from the 11 people from our locals, 4 of them were on Lightsworn, so I was like, this card's kind of, you know, questionable. But I kind of made up for it in the trap lineup. Future Fusion. I opened Future Fusion, Miracle Fusion 2 or 3 times. I mean, you know, when you're good at Yu-Gi-Oh, you're good at Yu-Gi-Oh. Double Bottomless. This is also for Lightsworns. If they summon a name, just not letting them get names in the grave is really all I cared about. And even if I couldn't win game 1, like when I played against Lightsworn, I lost game 1, and then I sided in all my like banishing stuff, and I won game 2 and 3 because their JD was irrelevant. Yeah, that's basically why that's there. And same with the Deep Prison, same idea. Just more ways of banishing stuff. The Bottomless was kind of 50-50, you know. It was fine. There were some times when it kind of sat there for 2 or 3 turns before it like actually did something. Deep Prison was always good. I really like this card. I actually have the 3rd one in the side, and there was a couple times when I did side it in, going first against like graveyard reliant decks. The one Torrential, it's Torrential. These are all like the one of good stuff, and then I'm saving like the spicy, awesome MVP of the whole weekend. But your Judgment, Trap Dushu was really solid. The one Mirror Force, and then the best card in the deck isn't even a water, isn't even a monster. Technically, it's Starlight Road. There were so many times when I would just activate my Legendary Ocean, and I would set my Starlight, people would open their Heavy Storm. That's the most juicy 2-for-1 you could ask for. People were like, that's a wimpy wimpy field spell, like whatever. I don't care, let's just get it out of here. What's the back row that's set? Basically, I would bait them into Heavy Storming, and I think I probably got like 6 free Stardust through the whole like tournament. It was insane. Yeah. And then we have the 1 Armory Arm. I really only made like 2 or 3 of these. This never came up. This is like the main guy you go into. It's Italian, for those of you that don't know what it does. It's a Sea Serpent, which is relevant, and its effect is that if a level 3 or lower monster leaves the field, that's anywhere on the field, even your opponent's, it becomes a 3000 beater for the turn. Plus Umi becomes 32. So when you're playing like the Frog Monarch decks, or like, I guess Lightsworn has like Raikou and like Lumina and stuff like that, if they like get rid of it to the grave, it becomes relevant, where it puts your opponent in a situation where they don't want to commit if they know they can't clear this without giving it the boost, and then you can just kind of be aggressive on your turn. But yeah, this card was super good. Android never came up. There's like once or twice when I debated on making, I was like, nah, that's just not the right play. Catastrophe I made once, made Brio once, it was all right. Goyo was insane. Probably made this like 3 or 4 times. As far as like from the extra deck, like outside of like this and the Stardust, this was like my third best option. I think I made this once just to wall up and be able to draw a couple cards. This never came up. Best card in the deck, extra deck, because I get it for free. Didn't come up, didn't come up, didn't come up. This didn't come up. And then your 2 absolute zeros. I guess I could have played a third one. But like, if you're going to summon a third one, you probably should be winning, or should have won by then. But yeah, that's it for the extra deck. For the side deck, we have the Triple Crow, just to get everything out of the grave. I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, that's really it. I see like online, like people like side, like I feel like 2 ofs is really popular in the side deck, and I think that's fine. That's, I mean, for the most part what I do as well, but I think the DD Crow is just so important. I love this card. Just sniping stuff, yeah, and your opponent just like running out of like resources in the grave. Awesome. Consecrated Light came up twice against zombies and against Blackwings. Basically a Mystic Mine. They can't do anything. Won me both games that I saw it. Cyber Dragon. I think I might have sided it in once. Probably not. I honestly can't recall. But yeah, I mean, it's there. My side deck, the rest of it is kind of iffy. Some of these, I know. I focused so much on the main deck and getting it to a point where I felt, not that it was perfect, but it was optimal for me, that I kind of forgot about the side deck. So like the last couple slots here are kind of like weird. The Gores, Double Nobleman. I guess this one I did put a little bit of thought process in this. I was like, I don't want to deal with the set Raikou, and knowing how many Lightsworns there were going to be, I would rather banish it, because like if you summon your Codarus without like Umi or like your Mother Grizzly or set it, like you're just, Raikou just kind of shits on you, to be honest. You would rather just banish it, or like against zombies, I sided it in and, just sniping a set Pyramid Turtle or something. And then Double Dust Tornado. I think this is kind of a staple. It came up. I sided it a couple times against like slower decks that were like trying to grind a little bit more. So it was decent. This is questionable. I just really like this card, so I wanted to play the third. I sided it in a lot going first. I would put in the third one, and depending on the matchup, I take out the bottom, like a bottomless, and then I play 1 bottomless 3D prisons. And then the second Starlight did come up against the final game of the entire tournament against Lightsworns. I sided in both, one for the heavy and one for the JD. And they didn't see heavy. I think they milled it, but I still had this set, and I wasn't able to keep them off the 4 names, and then went JD, and I just went nope, killed them with the Stardust. Pretty crazy. And then this, yeah, let's not talk about that. That's just in there because I don't know. But but yeah, that's the whole deck. 42 cards. Again, we got second place with it, which is super sick. We got like 14 packs or something pretty awesome. I didn't really pull anything crazy, but I know I haven't uploaded anything like for Modern Yu-Gi-Oh in a little bit. I've just been kind of in a weird place with Modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I played the whole Synchro Adventure like sad deck for like the past 4 months. I sold it. I did enjoy it. As you can tell, I even bought a punk playmat. I was playing like the punk hybrid after the ban list addressed it in May. And I really did enjoy the deck, but I just figured, you know what? I'm kind of bored with the current meta. I'm going to sell all of my meta relevant stuff and wait for splites, because that's probably what I'll end up playing, so that I have some sort of chance competing. We'll see how the deck does. But anyways, we're like doing mostly Edison, like enjoying Edison. I have some hat decks built. I've got like actual hat and then battling boxers, because that's like one of my favorite decks from that 2014 like format. But other than that, I mean, I'll try and upload when I can. I'm pretty inconsistent on here, unfortunately. Mostly on the Twitch, same EmoDad1. If you guys want to stop, say hi, I would appreciate it. But again, shout out to Keegan for kind of the idea, and all of my friends from locals for the support. They were all super stoked for me that they, you know, this deck is real and it's a threat and it does stuff. But all right, guys, thank you guys so much. If you guys want to leave a like, comment, give me some feedback. Again, fairly new to Edison, so if there's some stuff I missed or I didn't really get quite on spot on, I do apologize. But thank you guys.